Rachael Ray Double R doing some double M's. Woo! Food that you can make so quick it will free you up for more free time in your life. Look at that crispy skin. Delish. Ooh, that smells amazing. Boom! Nailed it! Hey guys, Double R coming at you again. Oh, this one's so fun. We're using boneless pork loin chops tonight with one of my favorite combinations, sweet onion and apple all over the top with a little bit of sugar and vinegar. And we're gonna serve it with twice cooked potatoes. So that's what I just started with, whole potatoes. What we're gonna do is take this size potato, like a small to medium. We bring them up to a boil. Honey, get the lid for this, will you please? When it comes up to a boil, add salt to the water. Why do we do that? After the water boils, the salt will not connect with the bottom of the pot and won't give it bad skin. Just like your face, you wanna keep the skin of the inside of your pots looking nice and smooth. So we're going to use this cool method where we divide the work between two pans. The first pan, the work it's gonna do is not too fast, cook apples and onions together, but we don't want to brown them. We're gonna cook them in butter, which has a low cook temp, and we're gonna use sweet onions of any kind. 3 if they're on the small side, 2 if they're super huge, softball size. We're gonna do some sweet onion and some apple. Now, to leave the peel on or to remove the peel is up to you, but in this case, we're cooking them for such a long time, I say go ahead and take the 2 seconds and peel the apples because we're gonna cook them kind of low and slow with the onions. At Thanksgiving, every single year, I make apple, celery, and onion stuffing, and I never take the peel off. But we like those crunchy edges. So we're gonna take the time to just run a peeler. It doesn't have to be perfect. If there's 2 little bits of skin left, who cares? And we're just gonna zip through a couple of crisp apples. So when I deal with an apple, I quarter it, I cut it on an angle to remove the absolute core, just literally the center of the apple. And then I just slice it. You do whatever you want, your house, your rules. The onion, we leave the root end attached. For the chops, we're gonna make a little rub, and I have those ingredients off to the right here. We're gonna use a little granulated garlic and granulated onion, they're best friends, a little pinch of allspice, and a little smoky cumin. Cumin is great because it's smoky, but it adds no heat. So I've got 3 smallish onions here, and I've got 2 apples, and I'm gonna get them going in a couple of tablespoons of butter. I always use salted butter. If you do not use salted butter, you will have to add more salt to your dish. But Jacques Pepin has been on the show several times over the years, and Jacques loves salted butter too. Possibly the greatest living chef digs salted butter. So there you go. But anyway, I'm gonna let the butter do its job first. We're gonna get this back pan going over not too high heat. I have a gas stove here, so this pan is literally already warm because there's always a pilot on, so this butter will begin to melt. We have the potatoes coming up to a boil, but as I said, we're gonna cook them twice. We're gonna cook them halfway in water, cut them in half, and then we're gonna shove them into a screaming hot oven with the rack middle. You can use a broiler, just turn your oven up as high as it goes, and we're gonna crisp them, melt cheese on them, and top them with sour cream and chives. Butter's bubbling already. When we hear that little bubble, that means please add more to the pan. So we will. Now, what do we do when we want liquid to come out of anything? We're using apples and onions, but we're going to use a little bit more salt now for a different reason. Not for flavor, we're adding the salt to draw the liquid out. And the bonus is the flavor. Okay, so we've got him on, for me, low. For you guys, medium's probably fine. Just if they start to brown, slow it down. So what we're gonna get is super soft onions and a tender, crisp apple And then we're gonna add it to the chops. So we wanna cook the chops a little bit down the line because we want our pork chops, and these are pork loin chops, very, very lean. And the way we're going to achieve a little more flavor with this, because it's boneless, we can still cook it nice and juicy. We might want to add a little extra flavor. We're not going to get quite as much pan dripping or that kind of crusty good stuff that goes on when we do the big chops with the bone in, right? So we're going to put a little rub on it. And rub is just that. You rub it into the meat on both sides. I think it's more helpful for people, especially if you don't cook a ton, to do your salt and pepper first so you can see where it's going and see how much you're using, right? So I'm gonna do salt and pepper first, separate from our little blend that we're gonna throw together here, okay? Then we're gonna flippy-do. These have been brought a little bit to room temperature. I took them out a few minutes ago. And now we're gonna make that rub, kind of a fat pinch of allspice. Let's go about a teaspoon on your cumin, about a teaspoon of garlic and onion. And then we're gonna put on half. And what are we gonna do? Rub it in. Hello. Flip these guys over. And what are we gonna do again? Rub it in. I make all of my countertops of solid butcher blocks so you can work at any space all over the kitchen at all times. However, whenever we use raw seafood or proteins, animal proteins, we always use a rubber board. You can't get that out of the pores of wood. You can only sanitize that fully by using a rubber board. We'll continue on when we come back. Oh, Hannah's clapping in a new area.
Everyone ready?
Set.
In 3, 2, 1.
So now we're gonna turn up this cast iron skillet that I've had preheating for a while over the lowest heat. How do we know it's ready? This is also ready, by the way. Take the lid off. Like I said, you gotta keep your eye on that. The second that comes to a boil, lid off. So, did you hear that? A little bit of water in the pan. Okay, we're hot. We can turn him up a hair, because now we're ready to put the chops into the pan. You want to serve pork pink. Should feel like the fleshy part of your hand. So we're gonna put these guys in. And then don't mess with success. You gotta let these guys hang out and get a beautiful crust on them before you turn them. Don't cover them. That will give you carryover cooking as well. So boneless, skinless chops will have the tiniest edge of a bit of fat on them, which is a good thing because they're so lean and high in protein. And so I just char that for a sec on the side before I flip them over. Get a picture of that. Okay, now we're gonna flip these guys. And you can take these pretty far. For every inch of protein, whether it's a pork chop or a steak, these are about 1.25 inches. For every inch of protein, to get a little bit of pink left in the center, you're looking at about 8 minutes. This is a little higher. So the total time we want that in a super hot, screaming hot pan is no more than 10. So we're going to brown, char the side, flip, cook like 2 minutes on the opposite side, remove it from the heat, slide the pan over. It will not cool down. It's cast iron. It's gonna stay hot. When our apples are ready, when our potatoes go back in the oven, when we're really close to service, like in a restaurant, Then we're gonna put these guys back into the hot pan with all the apples and onions and marry them with a touch of stock or even water. So for the potatoes, we just keep testing them with a fork until they feel like they're about half done. What we need to do with them is literally cut them in half, throw them into a colander, let them set for a couple minutes. We're gonna give them a cold water, quick run under cold water. We're gonna let them just chill for a sec, and then we're gonna cut them in half, put them on a pan, and get them crisp in the oven. When they look brown and crispy, then you add cheese, melted cheese, top them with the stuff, yada yada. So chops are brown on both sides. So we're gonna pile them up on our platter. Do not tent them, that will keep them cooking. You don't wanna do that. Just get these pretty brown guys out. And we're going to, what are we gonna do with the pan? We're gonna slide it off the heat. Just slide it off. And let it stay nice and hot and ready to work. So I'm gonna turn this off. I slid that off to the side. Here's our apples and onions. Look how slowly they're cooking. Lovely, right? And no real browning going on. I think we're about halfway there on our taters. So we're gonna turn that burner off because I'm using a mop-in. A mop-in is a slang made up fake word. And we used to put like a little skirt or apron, our dish towels in our waistband in our home when I was a little girl. So I stapled, literally, pot holders to a dish towel and sent it to a company and said, can you make me these? These are full-on real pot holders in the opposing corners of a dish towel. But it's a dish towel. Guess what can catch on fire? This thing. So I try and remember to turn the burner off first. Taters out. Like I said, we're gonna give them a cool bath. You don't really need to make an ice bath for this. Just let the cold water run for a minute or two, because we're not manhandling these guys, we're just cutting them in half. We'll continue on when we come back.
3, 2, 1, and go ahead, Rachel.
We're gonna take the taters downtown now to the baking sheet, which I covered with foil for easy cleanup. Put them on top of your dish towel or mop-in. Cut them in half. Perfect. And just line the sheet tray with them. The other reason I don't ice bath this is probably pretty obvious. We want to continue cooking them, so we don't want to slow down the process totally and completely. We just want to harbor it a bit so we can actually touch the potato skin. Oops. Oh, you're a slippery little fella, aren't you? Guess what? I won. You're gonna be in someone's tum-tum soon. Here we go. Okay. Now, we're gonna spray these guys down. Non-aerosol spray to brown the tops and the skins, right? Help them along in the oven. Salt and pepper. Potatoes love salt. Pepper. And brown. Whew, that's very warm. Done.
You know what they say, every time you open the oven, it adds 15 minutes cooking time. I didn't make up the rule. Don't kill the messenger.
That's what I'd like to do right now. Okay, guys, I just slid the pork back into the pan, so let's turn the pan back on. I turned the apples and onions off because they look done to me. I want them soft, I don't want them brown, right? So I'm gonna take out the bay leaf. I'm gonna add a little brown sugar and vinegar to that and then dump it right down over the pork. 2 pans, one intent, one delicious dinner. Oh, wow, look, I fogged up my glasses. I can't really see, but I probably can see well enough to add a little cheese to these. So when the potatoes are brown, again, you're gonna continue to cook them, so you don't want them like super brown. You just want them a little crispy. We're gonna top it with cheese. 1 bag will have about 2.5 cups in it, and that'll be more than enough for you.
These are called tomorrow's potatoes because by the time you're done cooking them, it's tomorrow.
He's very snarky. All right, back in they go. Now, we're going to take the apples and onions, sprinkle over brown sugar, and about an equal amount of cider vinegar, or whatever vinegar you have in the pantry. White distilled would be fine too, and underused vinegar. Kind of a multi-purpose. So now we have an agrodolce, sweet and sour apple onion thing going on. And then look what we're gonna do. Once we let that vinegar burn off for a couple of seconds, we're gonna dump that over this. We'll be right back. And in the case of a gas burning stove, he did that shtick like 5 episodes ago.
Whenever you're ready.
So these are our about 1.25 inches thick pork loin chops that are still juicy and punchy. See that? They still have give. And we're gonna take this, once it comes up to a boil again, okay? Like that. And douse the choppers. And then let it do that again for about 1 minute. We want to get the fond, the little bits and drippings off the bottom there. Big finish coming up, but we gotta wait another minute or two, let the cheese brown a bit. All right, here we go. Oh, wow, there's my glasses fogged up again. Okay, there's our cheesy potatoes. I mean, please, look at that. But honestly, the pork chops are delicious too, I promise. Just trust me, they're both great. So now we're gonna take these guys and try and cram them onto this platter. It'll probably be too small for all of this cheesy potato goodness that is not deep fat fried. I know you're saying, dude, it's a potato covered with a mountain of cheese. And yes, it most certainly is. But it wasn't deep fried. They were boiled and baked. I mean, I know. So you'll jog an extra few minutes tomorrow. I mean, there's no way I can lie and say that this is some sort of health meal. People are gonna enjoy the comfort food. And I do have a lot of mouths to feed. It's not just me and John and Bella today, so it's gonna be okay. Okay, now I have garlic and onion chives. Chives everybody can get, of course, all year round. But we were also green market shopping during garlic chive season, so we're gonna do that too. Hello. These are garlic chives. They're a little flatter, wider. And I keep, even after I wash them at home, I try and keep these rubber bands. But I keep those rubber bands on because they're a great little guide to keep the bunch all nice and tight together so you can chop it very efficiently and quickly. So I try and save that. Hunt, turn the chops off. I don't want all that juice to cook away, please. So, sour cream now comes like this. You can do that. And that's fun. And then you can do this. All right, there's a little on the counter. So what? It looks like a party. Then, for the chops, let's put a trivet up. Ugh. I add a little parsley and thyme. Those both go nice with pork. You could do so many different herbs with this. Get all of my herby bits together. All go over those glorious chops with our apples and onions. I mean, that is a cute dish. Done.